Why dual disks are important for Yu-Gi-Oh! By GatorEX YGO.
The Duel Disk, one of the most popular anime devices brought to life in the form of a toy. Just about every Yu-Gi-Oh fan has either owned one or really wished they had at some point in their lives. I love the Duel Disk as a concept and really think that it's one of the best things to happen to the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise, even though it really doesn't affect the actual gameplay all that much.
I do think that from a visual standpoint, from an aesthetic standpoint, I do think that he's absolutely right. And this is someone who's going back through Battle City right now, actually. Just watched Merrick versus Joey, which I totally didn't watch when I was younger. It's been very interesting to go back and catch what I couldn't, TV, right? TV times, missed it because school, homework and stuff. But it's very interesting to go back. And I do think that the evolution of the Duel Disk was actually super cool because it was able to take, Duelist Kingdom, right? All the stadiums and stuff. And it was able to portabilize it, was able to miniaturize it. And you were able to really just kind of battle, quote unquote, duel anyone, anywhere, really. And that kind of goes into just ease of access. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very much we're going to fight each other with our deals. That's why, wow, they top decked this card, or oh, they had this card. And I actually noticed this a lot in GX, actually, where Jaden will pull out something, or Yubel uses last trick, and it's more of a battle of ideals rather than a cohesive game. Obviously, it is a series meant to sell a product, which it's actually wild that we don't have dual discs like these still in production. The issue is that the deck size, slot size was very small when I owned one. It really fit unsleeved cards. Anyone can tell you why unsleeved cards are a bad thing. Show somebody an unsleeved Bonfire right now going for the $60 USD, or an unsleeved Ultimate Rare, and they will probably cry, right? It just caused damage to a lot of cards. Product itself is kind of flimsy. I really would like another one of these, but I'm really sad that we just don't have any of these. That being said, though, I feel it would be a production sink, because going to an LGS, going to a YCS, going to a tournament, you don't really see people doing this. It also makes the game harder to play for those people, because you just imagine, right? You're standing there, your buddy's standing 10 feet away, and you're having to yell what Alistair the Invoker does, or you're having to explain what Infinite Impermanence does, right? It's easier to have that tabletop setting, right? Magic the Gathering, Pokemon TCG, those kind of things, and to be able to just, oh, I need to read this card really fast. Okay, that's what that does. That being said, this is very cool, though. And I would very much like a modern iteration of these, or someone to actually sell functional copies of these with an adjustable deck slot, right? I think that'd be really cool.
First and foremost, it originates from the actual manga and anime that spawns all of the good Yu-Gi-Oh ideas. During the Duelist Kingdom arc, basically every duel had to take place in a specified arena where players could place their cards onto a board, that would then scan them and project the monsters onto a giant hologram field between the two. This was such a cool way of showing these duels and added the dramatic flair needed. Eventually, Kaiba began developing the Duel Disk, a portable version of the projection effects, allowing these epic duels to take place anywhere. This version was literally just a disc, but finally during the Battle City arc everything took off. The Duel Disk was refined into a wearable version that would allow duelists to, battle in the city. And what a spiffy design. It was sleek, yet had the edgy angular shapes that defined Yu-Gi-Oh! While being completely functional. This is one thing
I actually really like the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX ones. I like how rounded they were, and that they just really came out, and then the 2-card section, right, the upper section, just kind of jutted out. I actually really like that design. I'm very much a huge GX fan. But once showcasing with this scene alone, right, this, when you go to a game shop, right, not necessarily with the playmats and zones laid out, right, you each have your playmats and you're playing like this. It's easier for your average player. It's easier for you to play at that tabletop setting. I like that it kind of blends that shield aesthetic, right? So if you look at a dual disc, right, in the anime, right, whether that be GX, whether it be 5Ds, whether it be Duel Monsters, right, I can't say anything about the latter ones because I haven't really looked at them, V-Rains and stuff like that. But when you look at it, right, it's kind of like they're holding a shield for all intents and purposes. They're ready for battle. They're ready for combat. They're ready to get their game on in Duel. And I think that it does allow the story to flow a lot better, instead of say season 1 Duel Monsters Panic, right? Oh, well, I'm going to lure you to my arena, and stuff like that's cool, right? But you can only lure someone to your arena so many times. You can only have so many set pieces with this, right? Where, oh, I just walked over here and, oh, well, yep, here's another duel thing. Guess we're in for a duel, right? But now you kind of have that freedom. You don't have that storytelling restriction of, hey, you're in a sanctioned field, right? Much like a Pokemon battle, right? Yes, you have your stadiums, you got your Pokemon League, you got your gyms, right, etc. But realistically, little Timmy can throw out his Rattata at any point on the routes in between cities, and even in cities, depending, right? And you can have a battle that right then and there. That portability, that ease of access, leads into that storytelling, and I think it's super cool.
That made Yu-Gi-Oh stand out from other conceptual card game anime. Card games are fun, but they need to be played at a table across from an opponent. Yu-Gi-Oh had already made these more exciting with the holograms, but fully leaning into the science fiction technology made the dual disk possible. Now there was no chance for the pacing or high stakes of an exciting duel to be ruined. Characters wouldn't need to go find an arena or fold out a table to settle their disputes. They were all wearing everything they needed right on their wrists.
Imagine, if you will, right? You know how in Destiny we make the meme Tanix with the steel chair is gonna be the final shape, right? Imagine just everyone just hauling around this like backpack, right? Or hauling around this table on their back, right? And you just have to like animate, like reach back like you're reaching for a sword and just whip that table out in front of you, right? I think it could make a really good parody manga, don't get me wrong. I feel it could be really great as a parody, but you see how that would kind of break the flow of things. It's less effective than assuming a battle stance, right? You know, putting your legs back like you're ready, you know, to fight, so to speak, and just engaging your dual disc, and then, you know, life point flash, game on, right? That kind of thing. How it's a lot, it flows a lot better. It's more aesthetic, even more presentable from an entertainment standpoint.
Also, having them stand during these battles made everything look a lot cooler. It felt more engaging.
Right.
And from here on out, dual discs became the norm for every anime series.
It's the presentation.
While there would be various iterations on exactly how people would duel, the concept of getting away from the table remained. And even if it was drastically different, like motorcycles or hoverboards, characters still had a dual disc because that was just part of Yu-Gi-Oh now. From series to series, the designs can vary, but they all keep the basic layout and are recognizable. What I do love is the variation between characters. I mean, even in just the original series, we see differences depending on allegiance or even time period.
This is true. It's very customizable as well. Much like, you know, people customize and paint their shields, much like people have different pommels for their swords, much like people have different flares for their warhammers and stuff like that. It's very customizable and can actually add to a character's design.
Yugioh GX, while still being in the original continuity, is where we really saw the individuality take off. They were really experimenting with the idea of creating all these different styles.
Yeah.
And just like any popular anime at the time, there were tie-in toys. This is what most everybody will immediately think of when Duel
I had one of these. It ate cards. It was rough.
Disc is mentioned. The original toy was really meant as just that, a toy. But I mean, it was definitely compatible with the actual trading cards. I find the original US commercial so funny. You see a bunch of these kids running off to some abandoned warehouse to break out their dual discs and play against each other.
I remember
They're
this.
using these replica cards that look like they do in the show, but for some reason we only see the backs of them. Like they're just placing monsters in face down attack position. Except for at the very end when one kid brings out Exodia and, you know, just plays the head face up on the field. It's so cheesy, I love it. We would also get the
But that marketing is so cheesy, it would never work. Oh, I assure you it worked. As it turns out, we don't care if something's cheesy. Just sell us a funny product. It's all about that spectacle. It's all about that presentation.
Chaos Duel Disk, which has a commercial of two kids just rotating around each other with some anime footage spliced in. While the Dual Disk toys would continue into the GX era, 5Ds is where they basically slowed down.
Yeah.
Yusei's Dual Disk was available in Japan, but in the US, anime merchandise shifted to the next popular thing. And of course,
Bakugan.
when these
I'm so upset that I threw out my Bakugan. I was at a living situation that was not very good, and it wasn't very good headspace, and I threw out a ton of those Bakugan.
So anime
Like a
started leaning
collection.
more into the complex dual disc, they just stopped. Though more recently, Bandai would release a premium version of the original dual disc, which you might have seen, and it looks insane. Apparently it actually holds cards in their sleeves. And with the recent
Okay, do we have confirmation on that though? If we have confirmation on that, I would like somebody to point me to this, because I may or may not have to make a tax-deductible purchase.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's anime rebuilding the dual disc as well as the battlefield, they've started producing a physical toy version for that one, though only in Japan. Growing up, my friends were more into Yu-Gi-Oh! And I kind of didn't catch on until later, but they had one of the dual disc toys that they gave to me for some reason, and I thought it was so cool. But then for some other reason, I gave it back to them, and I kind of regret it now because I'm a weird nerd collector and they're just normal people. Though at this point in time, I do have my own dual disc because in 2021, there was a reproduction of the original toy which I snagged for myself as a Christmas present. Though it is a bit
Nice.
different in a few ways.
Right.
For one, I think the plastic is thinner, which I'm not the biggest
Plastic looks thinner. The red on the graveyard looks like it's shaped slightly differently. Yeah, no, I can definitely see the thinness of the plastic. It was a lot thicker on the older one.
fan of in some areas. But it
I'm assuming that snaps out. The red snaps out. The red graveyard snaps open. The buttons are different, it looks like. I would have to see how it holds those cards, because there was a little like lever kind of thing.
It has all the basics you remember: a deck holder, graveyard, monster zones, slots for spell and trap cards.
I think right there, actually. Hi, Simo. No, I think the slot right there. So where field spell 3 meets field zone 3 meets field zone 4, that's split in the middle. I don't remember that being there on the original design, that little gap between those.
However, there is no field zone, which I suspect might have been a cost-cutting measure.
Yeah.
The lights do function, and there is a life point counter just like the original. The worst part is that with mine specifically, it's very sensitive when it locks into the inactive position. That is actually kind of disappointing. It is really finicky, so I kind of can't even have it in the inactive position at all. It's not as good as the original in terms of quality, but for being widely available in modern times, I like it as a display piece. Or potentially a cosplay prop, actually more likely a video prop to be funny sometimes. Whenever somebody comes over, they're always excited to see it sitting on my shelf, so yeah, I'm pretty cool.
No,
all in all, I think it's easy to see why the Duel Disk has been so important in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's an extremely recognizable piece of iconography that serves a functional purpose in the source material to help it stand out from contemporaries, while serving as the ultimate immersion for fans in real life. So let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Did you ever have one growing up, or is it a right that you reclaimed in your later years? Anyway, this is GatorEX, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.
I liked this video. This video was very snappy. It was very awesome. It was very to the point and very informative. I liked it. It flowed very, very well. I really like this. Sharply get No, this is actually really cool. If you have not checked out this creator, I hadn't checked out this creator until now. Definitely go ahead and check them out. You'll see in the description a link to the original video and their channel. I thought this was super cool. I hope I paused enough. Hope I was a little transformative enough for this. But a lot of good information in this. As somebody that has been in Yu-Gi-Oh! Tangentially throughout the years, right? I mean, as somebody that has Sky Striker and Branded, right? I mean, you know, these are things that I like playing the game, but I don't really play the game, if you will. LGSs and stuff like that don't really play it anymore near me, and that's one of those things that, so I've been going back and trying to learn Yu-Gi-Oh, so to speak. Yeah, but you know how to play. I know how to play the game realistically. Yeah, there are things that come up like the interaction between Book of Moon and Guardian Chimera, right? Which, you know, are odd. So there's a lot of nuance. The worst thing you can do to someone learning Yu-Gi-Oh! Is hand them the little rule book that comes with starter decks and structure decks. That is the worst thing you can do. There are so many rules beyond that. But no, I love the game. I love the series, and I think there's a lot of cool potential behind it. And it's super cool to see other people just have that passion about it. And that's why I do like a lot of these, you know, Yu-Gi tubers. I think it's really cool that so many people can just put out such really cool content. And this was very straight and forward and to the point. But let me know, what deck do you play? Let me know if there's an Etsy seller that sells these things, or if there's one that actually holds sleeve cards. I don't think there is. I'm pretty sure that we don't have that. We just don't have that capacity. Let me know if you think that I bring some good points about, like, well, reasonably, yeah, if you have to go read your opponent's bonfire, or you have to go and read their, Elemental Hero Rainbow Neos, right? If you haven't seen it, you're like, okay, I need to read that. It's easier to just be at a table than, you know, walk 10 feet over to your opponent and do that. However, it does make for a very flashy, very spectacle looking thing. Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. Definitely go ahead and check them out, and I'll see you all in the next one.